Jay-Z and Diddy and a teenager, 13-year-old teenager. Right. What do you feel about just that whole thing, man?
As much as people feel like I haven't had issues with Puffy. I don't like him like that. Like, I don't like things that he would do. But Jay, definitely not that.
Diddy breaks down in the courtroom. And it's not just emotional, it's historic. The judge has just handed down a brutal prison sentence that no one, not even his harshest critics, saw coming. This isn't just a legal decision.
It hasn't even been a full week since the shocking new sexual assault allegations against Jay-Z have come out, and already we are seeing quite the reaction from some pretty high-profile people. Let's see what some celebrities had to say about Sean Carter's legal development and bombshell claims against Jay-Z. Sean Carter, in that federal sexual assault lawsuit, an unnamed Jane Doe is accusing the rapper and business mogul of raping her at a VMA's after party back in 2000 when she was just 13 years old. A party thrown by none other than Sean Diddy Combs, who she says also sexually assaulted her that night. In fact, she claims in her amended complaint, which now lists Jay-Z as the defendant, when it was first filed in October, by the way, he was only labeled as Celebrity A, but now he's been identified as Sean Carter, Jay-Z. But in the complaint, it states, Combs then threw plaintiff toward a wall, causing plaintiff to fall. Plaintiff got up and stumbled, at which point Combs grabbed her again and threw her on the bed. At that point, Carter began removing plaintiff's clothes as she grew more and more disoriented. The complaint says that Jay-Z then raped this teenager, and then Diddy proceeded to rape her as well. And by the way, this allegedly was in a bedroom while an unnamed female celebrity watched the assault. And this Jane Doe has sued both men for this alleged assault under the Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act, which provides a look-back window to sue for claims that would otherwise be too old, barred by a statute of limitations issue. It just has to be a violent act that was motivated by someone's gender. So here the idea is that she was an underage girl, she couldn't consent. And remember, this all comes as Sean Combs is sitting in the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, on federal sex crimes charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. That he operated a criminal enterprise that engaged in a campaign of abusing women and using illegal methods to coerce people to engage in prolonged sex performances with male sex workers. It wasn't just us reacting to this Jay-Z news, no. Celebrities have been reacting to it as well. And I think a good place to start would be with rapper 50 Cent. Why? Why him? Because he has already been quite vocal during the Sean Combs legal saga. For instance, after the raids by federal agents on Combs' properties months ago, before his arrest, 50 Cent posted on Instagram, "Now it's not Diddy do it, it's Diddy done. They don't come like that unless they got a case." And he has posted several memes mocking Combs' legal troubles. He also shared a video from someone on social media that called Combs too freaky for society. And when Combs was officially arrested, he took to Instagram. He posted a picture of him and Drew Barrymore and wrote, "Here I am, keeping good company with at the Drew Barrymore show, and I don't have 1,000 bottles of lube at the house." Obviously a reference to the amount of lubricant and baby oil that prosecutors revealed were recovered from Sean Combs' properties. And in fact, I should also tell you that 50 Cent is reportedly working on a Netflix documentary about Combs' legal troubles. But when it comes to Jay-Z, what did he say? He said a few things, or he did a few things. So first, I should tell you that there doesn't appear to be any love loss between the two of them, because back in the day, the two had a beef, at least through lyrics against one another.
This is a thunderclap across the entertainment industry, the justice system, and the culture itself. This is a fall of a giant on camera under lights in real time. The sentence is harsh, unforgiving. It goes beyond predictions, past expectations, straight into the realm of legal shock. The room went still. No one moved. No one even breathed. And in the middle of it all, Diddy, sitting motionless, frozen in disbelief. Then it hit him. The weight of it, the finality. His eyes dropped, his hands shook, his jaw clenched, and then the tears came. Quiet, heavy, final. This is a man who built an empire, a mogul, a brand, a force, brought to his knees, not by rivals, not by market crashes, not by music trends, but by the justice system, the same system he once danced around.
For instance, 50 Cent released the song How to Rob, in which he seems to suggest robbing Jay-Z, and Jay-Z put out a song called It's Hot, Some Like It Hot, in which he rapped, I'm about $1, what the F is 50 Cent? Now, although they had performed together in the past, maybe patched things up or looked like things were okay, doesn't really look like they're besties, because I mean in 2011, 50 told MTV News, we don't have those kinds of relationships. These people are people I associate with. We're in the same business. We're not necessarily friends. We don't call each other for no reason. And I should tell you, if you had any doubt about their friendship, well, what did 50 Cent do just in the wake of this Jay-Z lawsuit? Well, he posted on Instagram a meme of him in a car with the caption, okay, I don't know what's going on, but are we going to still have the Super Bowl? Worried emoji? I'm just asking for a friend. That, of course, is in reference to the fact that for the last few years, Jay-Z and his company Roc Nation helped to produce the Super Bowl halftime show. But he really wasn't done there, because you know how right after the lawsuit was filed, I mean less than 24 hours, Jay-Z, his wife Beyonce, their 12-year-old daughter Blue Ivy, and Beyonce's mom Tina Knowles attended the LA premiere of Mufasa, the Lion King. This is what we talked about in a previous sidebar. But now, in a deleted post on Instagram, 50 Cent wrote, Jay said they said I raped a kid. Everybody get dressed. We're going to see Mufasa. Seemingly poking fun at him for going to a movie premiere in the wake of these brand new allegations. Now, to be clear, Beyonce and Blue Ivy both star in that movie. I don't think that they could have avoided the premiere, but maybe some would say you shouldn't have showed up. I don't know. But anyway, I will tell you, I interviewed body language expert Susan Constantine about how Jay-Z appeared at that premiere and whether it told us anything based on his body language. Take a look.
When I look at Jay-Z, you can see his lips pursed. That is a form of agitation. So when we look at that, when people purse or tighten their lips, it tells you a little bit about their cognitions, maybe that he's not really enjoying this as much as he's portraying when he was walking on. And what I'm looking for is a cluster. I see a horizontal stressor right across his forehead, and then he has his hand in his pocket. So we've got three things, which is a cluster. You would think that Jay-Z would have incorporated Beyonce into the mix by putting his arm around Beyonce's waist. We didn't see that here. So that's why I'm saying there's almost like a separation, two different frames. Beyonce, of course, alliances are with her daughter. You can see her leaning her head towards her daughter. Her daughter is out up front, is almost in a princess type of positioning. So overall, when I'm looking at this, the mannequin type of stance that Tina has, the agitation that Jay-Z is concealing. So what I mean by that, it's not an outward or expression. It's actually micro expressions of showing you what some of cognition might be.
But going back to 50 Cent for a second, you know what else he apparently did? Because it didn't end there. He apparently posts an AI-generated video of Jay-Z and Sean Combs in tuxedos getting arrested by police with the caption, I want to post this, but I'm afraid I'm going to get shot. LOL, laughing emoji. Now, one other thing I have to mention about 50 Cent before we go to other celebrities. So he sat down for an interview with personality Big Boy.
Now it's got him locked in its grip and it's not letting go. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, spectators, family, lawyers, everyone expecting a long day of back and forth arguments. What they got instead was a sledgehammer of a sentence delivered with cold clarity and zero hesitation. The judge didn't stutter, didn't soften the blow, just read the terms with precision. And the second the final number dropped, the air was ripped out of the room. Gasps, murmurs, audible disbelief. And did he? He broke. His shoulders dropped. He leaned forward like he'd been punched. No cameras were allowed in the room, but the sketch artist captured it. The emotion, the collapse, the unraveling of a man who once ruled it all. His lawyers tried to comfort him, tried to speak to him, but he didn't respond. He couldn't. The verdict had landed and there was nowhere left to hide. The sentence was longer than any prediction, harsher than any leaked draft. Legal experts were stunned.
He addressed a lot of this. He said, I haven't had issues with Puff where I don't like him. I don't like things that he would do that make me uncomfortable. And in terms of Jay-Z, he said, "I just hope things are all right for him internally. I mean at the crib." Because in the statement they mentioned his daughter being old enough to, because she about 13, so it's the same age as these kids they saying he did something to. And he also said the damage is already done by the allegation itself. And he even claimed that the NFL regarding the Super Bowl show, quote, will fall back in light of this lawsuit and they won't necessarily be associated to that, meaning the NFL, they won't necessarily stick with Jay-Z. Now, in terms of what he said about Jay-Z's home life, he seems to be referencing Jay-Z's statement that was put out after the filing of this complaint. And the statement accused Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, of trying to blackmail him to settle the case before filing what he claims are false allegations. And he said the following: "My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will surely see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people. I mourn yet another loss of innocence. Children should not have to endure such at their young age. It is unfair to have to try to understand inexplicable degrees of malice meant to destroy families and human spirit." So that was basically what 50 Cent had to say so far. But going back to Tina Knowles, remember I mentioned her, I want to talk about her for a second and talk about her, I don't want to say reaction to Jay-Z's lawsuit, because as you'll see, she says this really wasn't her, but something very curious happened. There were reports that Tina Knowles liked an ABC7 Chicago Instagram post about the lawsuit, with the caption reading, "Sean Jay-Z Carter and Sean Diddy Combs are accused of raping a then 13-year-old girl at an after-party following the 2000 Video Music Awards," according to an amended civil lawsuit that was filed Sunday. So, did she really like that? Well, she says no. In an Instagram post, she denied liking the post, claiming her account was hacked, writing, "As you all know, I do not play about my family. So if you see something uncharacteristic of me, just know that it is not me. And please stop playing with me. No weapon formed against my family shall prosper." And of course, as I mentioned, she attended the Mufasa premiere with Jay-Z and the family and looked in good spirits. So maybe that reaction wasn't really a reaction. But I will tell you who did react: Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. So let me set the stage for this one. So we go to the December 10th broadcast of Inside the NBA on TNT. And there is a discussion among the group of Kenny Smith, Ernie Johnson, Shaq, and Barkley about who could face off against commentator Stephen A. Smith on the basketball court. So at one point, Charles Barkley says to Smith, "You said the man isn't on your level. Stephen A. played college basketball." Now Smith defends himself, says that he's a champ, and then he says to Shaq, "Listen, man, do you think Jay-Z or..." And he starts to trail off. And before he can finish his thought, Barkley jumps in and goes, "Probably not a good time right now." All the panelists start laughing. The crew in the background starts laughing. Smith jokes and says, "You're silly, man. You're silly, man," while shaking his head. And then Shaq gets up, walks off stage, and hides behind a pillar in a joking fashion as Ernie Johnson says, "Go and see if you can fix the wall, will you, Shaq?"
The noise becomes impossible to ignore. And here comes 50, fanning the flames. But he doesn't just fan them. He directs them. He names names.
Prosecutors looked shocked. This wasn't just a win for the state. It was a warning, a declaration that even the biggest names can fall. Hard and full he did. Outside the courthouse, chaos, protesters shouting, fans crying, reporters scrambling to go live, everyone trying to make sense of a moment that will go down in history. One moment you're watching the courtroom, the next you're witnessing the collapse of an entire legacy. The brand, the image, the empire, it all shattered in one brutal stroke. Inside, the judge laid it out clearly. This wasn't personal. It was judicial. The judge cited the facts, the evidence, the damage, the pattern, the lack of remorse, and then the need to send a message, not just to Diddy, but to the entire industry, to the entire world, that justice doesn't flinch. And did he? He sat there and took it. No outburst, no resistance.
Old, She was raped by both of these musicians at a Video Music Awards after party back in 2000. And now Jay-Z, who is adamantly denying the allegations, is not only trying to get the whole case dismissed and thrown out, but he is also asking the court to impose sanctions upon Jane Doe's Texas attorney, Tony Busby. Now, this may sound very familiar, by the way, because this has been an ongoing legal war between Busby and Jay-Z and his legal team. Accusations that Busby engaged in extortion, that his firm pressured a client to lie, that Jay-Z's camp has been engaging in intimidation and harassment. Jay-Z called Tony Busby a deplorable human being. He even filed a lawsuit against Tony Busby. And by the way, Jay-Z and his legal team, their position was that Busby had extorted the rapper, that Busby allegedly threatened Jay-Z during negotiations that he would go public with these claims. Jay-Z says these are false claims, but public with these claims unless Jay-Z agreed to pay what they claim is a, quote, exorbitant sum in private mediation within a 2-week period. Jay-Z says that when he refused, that is when he was named by Tony Busby in the lawsuit. Remember, this lawsuit first came out. It was only identified as unnamed celebrity A, and then in an amended complaint, Jay-Z was identified as celebrity A. So you're seeing this really bad blood between the different players here. I mean, it got so bad that the judge in this case, Judge Annalisa Torres, actually scolded Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, writing in a recent order, Carter's lawyer's relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. The court will not fast-track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. Now, despite not allowing Jay-Z to immediately file for sanctions, Judge Torres did permit Jay-Z to file the motion that we're about to talk about. And this is big. So this is Jay-Z's memorandum of law in support of his motion for sanctions and dismissing the complaint. So basically, these are his legal arguments. So the filing begins right on page 1. While the allegations stated in the complaint in this case are gravely serious and injurious to Mr. Carter's hard-won reputation, many of them, on their face, strain the outer bounds of credulity, and none of them appear to have been subjected to even the most rudimentary diligence by the filing attorney who initially signed his name to them and has since declined to withdraw them. Because the federal rules and professional ethics require more of a filing attorney, Mr. Carter now respectfully seeks appropriate sanctions. And by the way, when we're talking about sanctions under Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, we're talking about a way to punish attorneys for really bad conduct. Usually it's a monetary punishment. It's rare. It's rare. You don't see this all the time. You have to be talking about really egregious bad behavior. You know, Rule 11, it's about making false representations to the court, filing a lawsuit for an improper purpose, like merely to harass someone, that you're asserting claims or defenses that are not backed up by the facts, the law, the evidence. The bottom line here is that Rule 11 requires attorneys to conduct reasonable inquiries into the facts and into the law before they file. Makes sense, right? Well, Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's attorney, claims that Tony Busby violated Rule 11 by, quote, either knowingly making false allegations about Mr. Carter in the amended complaint, failing to conduct an adequate investigation into the complaint's factual allegations, or at a minimum, failing to withdraw the complaint once it became clear that numerous allegations in the complaint are false and the other allegations.
Just raw devastation. The man who built Bad Boy Records. The man who danced on stages across the globe. The man who built fashion lines and media empires reduced to a number in a courtroom. Just another defendant awaiting transport. It doesn't get more real than that. And the silence was telling. His team didn't speak to the press. No prepared statements. No spin. Just stunned silence. Because what do you say when the system drops a hammer that heavy? When the person you've defended for months is now being led out of the room in cuffs? Let's talk about the breakdown. Because this wasn't performative. This wasn't for the cameras. This was total collapse. People who were inside the courtroom say it was one of the most emotionally charged moments they've ever witnessed. Some compared it to historic trials. Others said it felt like watching a king get dethroned. His body language told the whole story. Slumped, defeated, eyes red, breathing heavy. It wasn't just sadness. It was the realization that this is real.
Are therefore at least highly suspect. So what do they mean by these allegations are false? Well, here is where it gets a little tricky for Jane Doe because NBC News actually interviewed her, and they looked into this case. They looked into her claims. And here's what the filing says. NBC News journalists determined that a number of allegations were either false or highly doubtful. For example, paragraph 44 of the complaint claims that the party, again, this is the party where she claims she was assaulted, the party occurred at a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway that was approximately 20 minutes from the VMAs by car. But photographs show that after the VMAs, Mr. Carter attended a party at Lotus, a nightclub in New York. And by the way, there is a photo included here provided by Alex Spiro of Jay-Z at what appears to be a party with a lot of people. Later on in the memorandum, he writes, other photographs from that evening also show Mr. Combs with his then girlfriend, the musician and actress Jennifer Lopez, at two different establishments, Lotus and Twirl, neither of which was a large residence with a U-shaped driveway. And there is another photo that is included. This time it's of the pair, Jennifer Lopez, Sean Combs, and there is a caption at the bottom that says that they are at a MTV Video Music Awards after party at Twirl on September 7th, 2000. But that is not the only alleged inconsistency. You see, Jane Doe has claimed in her complaint that she was able to escape this situation and run away to a nearby gas station, call her father to pick her up. Well, the filing says, paragraph 60 states that after the alleged assault, plaintiff's father drove to pick her up. But her father has no recollection of doing so, despite the fact that it would have been a 10-hour drive round trip to retrieve his 13-year-old daughter from a random gas station. And yeah, that was included in the NBC report. It was a big part of it because this accuser's father told NBC, quote, I feel like I would remember that and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind. Now, Spiro continues in this filing saying paragraph 46 states that plaintiff spoke to celebrities at the alleged party, but when journalists pressed her as to which celebrity she spoke with, she named a person who was in Chicago that evening performing a concert. So Spiro explains a little bit more about this later on in the filing where he writes, plaintiff also claimed with certainty that she spoke with musician Benji Madden at the alleged party about his tattoo, The Last Supper. She supposedly remembers this interaction with clarity because she has a religious background, so it was something to talk about. But Mr. Madden was not even in the state of New York. His representative told NBC that he did not attend the VMAs and in fact was on tour in the Midwest with his band Good Charlotte. Then, Spiro writes, paragraph 40 states that plaintiff watched the VMAs on a Jumbotron. In fact, photographs from that evening show there was no Jumbotron, as New York City had denied MTV a permit. And included, also by Jay-Z's legal team, is a screenshot of what appears to be a video, so it's a still shot, from a YouTube video that is titled 2000 MTV VMAs Red Carpet. And it appears that someone is performing on an outdoor stage in New York, but from that pic, yeah, you don't see a Jumbotron. Then, Spiro continues, and the same paragraph says that plaintiff approached limousine drivers at the VMAs. And by the way, the allegation was there is that a limousine driver had taken her to this party. But, Spiro writes, video shows that the limousine area was cordoned off by police and inaccessible to fans. And included is another screenshot of that same video from YouTube of the exterior of the Radio City Music Hall where the VMAs was being held. And you see limousines outside.
No more negotiations. No more PR. No more damage control. Just prison. Real prison for a long time. And the impact is immediate. Projects canned, sponsors gone, labels in crisis mode, associates running for cover. Everyone who once benefited from Diddy's rise is now distancing themselves from his fall. Calls not being answered, emails ignored, contracts being torn up because no one wants to be tied to a sinking ship. The legal world is calling this a precedent, a turning point because celebrity no longer protects you. It used to be a shield, now it's a spotlight. And when the system turns that spotlight on you, there's nowhere to run. Social media is in meltdown. Some are mourning. Others are cheering. Some say justice finally showed up. Others say the sentence is too harsh. But no one's denying the impact. The shockwaves are real. The timeline is exploding. Videos, reactions, live streams, people dissecting every second of what just happened. And behind it all, Diddy sits in a holding cell alone, stripped of everything. No entourage, no assistants, no $1 million suits, just a jumpsuit, a number, a future that now exists behind bars. The system doesn't care how many awards you've won. It doesn't care how many hits you've had. When the gavel drops, it drops for everyone the same. And this judge made sure the world heard it. People are asking, what's next? Will there be an appeal? Probably, but it won't be quick. Appeals take months, sometimes years. And this sentence, it's active. It's immediate. Diddy is behind bars right now. And no fast-track process is going to change that. Others are asking how the court landed on such a brutal sentence. It's simple. The judge saw a pattern, not just in the case, but in the behavior, in the arrogance, in the lack of ownership. And when the court sees that, it doesn't hesitate. It corrects it hard. This sentence wasn't about fame. It was about principle, about protecting the system, about proving that justice doesn't bend even when millions of eyes are watching, especially then. And for Diddy, that reality came crashing down in the most public, most painful way possible. The news is spreading globally. Every outlet, every continent. Did he sentenced? Did he breaks down? Did he taken away? It's no longer a story. It's history. A permanent stain on a legacy that was once untouchable. And now it's crumbling, maybe even done. This moment will be studied for years in law schools, in documentaries, in hip-hop history books. The day the empire fell, the day the mogul met the judge and lost. And people who thought they were untouchable are watching closely. Because if Diddy can be taken down like this, anyone can. This isn't just a court case. It's a warning. The silence from the defense team speaks volumes. No damage control, no press tour, just shock. You don't spin a moment like this. You just try to survive it. And did he? His silence is louder than anything he's ever said. No words, no reaction. Just a man who knows what's coming, who finally sees it clearly. A cold cell, a locked door, and the sound of everything he built echoing behind him as it collapses. This is what happens when the system catches up. When the fame fades, when the truth hits, and when the sentence lands harder than anyone imagined. Diddy broke down in that courtroom. And in doing so, he reminded the world, nobody is above the law, not even the king. This isn't the end of the story, but it is the end of the illusion and the beginning of something far, far more real. He drops a post, lets it go viral, deletes it, and then posts another angle. It's like he's playing a long game, slowly peeling back layers, daring someone to challenge him. But no one has, not legally, not publicly, not even a cease and desist. And that, more than anything, keeps the fire going. People are starting to wonder, is this the tip of something massive? Are we watching the early stages of a total industry reckoning? Because if 50 is right, if even half of what he's implying is true, then this isn't just about music, it's about power, control, corruption at the highest levels. And if Jay-Z is connected to that directly, indirectly, knowingly, or unknowingly, it changes everything. It reframes the last 2 decades. The Rock Nation rise, the business deals, the alliances. It forces people to ask uncomfortable questions about what success in this industry really costs. And this is why 50's voice matters right now. Not because he's perfect, not because he's unbiased, but because he's unafraid. He doesn't owe these people anything. He's made his money, built his brand, and he's not playing by the same rules. That makes him dangerous, unpredictable, but also potentially one of the few people willing to say what others won't. So, where does this go from here? That's the million-dollar question. Will more people start speaking out? Will we see legal action? Will Jay-Z finally be forced to respond? Or will this all fade away? Another internet firestorm that burns hot and then vanishes. That depends on what comes next. If 50 has more to reveal, if he's sitting on something explosive, then we're only at the beginning and the industry knows it. You can feel the tension, the silence from certain camps, the way the media is being careful, the way some names are suddenly avoiding public appearances. That's not coincidence. That's fear. Because the truth has a funny way of surfacing. And when it does, it rarely comes out clean. It comes with damage, with consequences. And if 50 keeps pushing, keeps connecting dots, keeps dropping clues, someone's going to slip. And when they do, everything might unravel. Until then, all eyes are on the next post, the next quote, the next cryptic comment. Because in this game, nothing is accidental. And 50 is playing for something bigger than attention. He's playing for legacy, for exposure, maybe even for justice. And right now, he's holding all the cards.